Hello, I'm Mary Lonnie. Today I'm going to walk you through the steps to make this fun, colorful fall watercolor painting of bur oak leaves. You'll be painting negative space and use a wet into wet technique on each leaf. I want to show you your supplies that you need for this project first. You will need paper towel, a 9x12 piece of paper, watercolor paper. I decided to tape this one down, the one that I did here. First I did not. You can see how the pages curled up a little bit, but I can take care of that with putting some paper towel down and putting some heavy books on it to weigh it down. And it will flatten out nicely. But if you have a board or even cardboard will work and you have tape available, I suggest taping it down, but it's not necessary because I didn't do it on that one. The other thing you will need is your colors here, and I have a palette. I made a key for you. You have yellow, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, cerulean blue, burnt sienna, and then here you can combine. To get your orange, you're going to combine the yellow, cadmium, and the cadmium red to get a nice orange. And to get this nice green, that's a lighter green, you will combine the cadmium yellow with the cerulean blue. Okay. Oh, yes, and your number 8 round paintbrush. If you got a kit from the library, the leaves have already been pre-drawn for you. And you should have an extra piece of watercolor paper in there if you want to do this step. This, I went to the park and found a branch that had fallen and picked out 3 different sizes of these leaves, large, medium, and small, just to give you some variety. And I'm going to just lay them out and overlap, and some can go off the page just to make it interesting. This is more abstract. It's not going to be a technical botanical painting. If you were, you would have the branch here in front of you and drawing the whole branch and all. But this is just for fun and to get these techniques, give yourself a chance to play around with them. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to trace these leaves on here. I wanted to mention that you do not need to trace them. If you want to draw, this is just to take the pressure off of yourself if you don't feel you can draw them that well. But if you want to go ahead and if you're up for the challenge, go ahead and draw the leaf how it's shaped. Also, even when you're tracing, hold the leaf up to the light and see. Here, this one has a few holes in it, and it just makes it more organic and more real to put a few of those holes that are in there. They're not perfect, which is part of the fun of the project when we get to the end and add those details. Your number 8 paintbrush, you're going to now look for the negative space. I found some here. You're gonna have to look real close because your leaves have been layered one on top of another. So you don't want to paint the leaves, but you want to find, like right here, go in with the water. Here, get a clean brush. You want to go in with clear water, fill that in, and then you can drop the blue paint into that. So this is also wet into wet. A little tinted blue, this water. I'll go in and get some more blue. Drop it in. You don't want to get your leaf, any of the leaf wet yet. You're going to need to let this dry before we go in to paint the leaves. Now remember that watercolor, the paint dries lighter. These are already starting to dry, so if you want to go in again, you can to make that color brighter. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue on filling in my sky with in the negative space, and then I'm going to come and show you how to do some clouds in a few minutes. Negative space is just the space between the leaves. Here, wherever I am painting blue, that would represent the sky. You can keep going in a little bit darker, and I'll show you if you want to add a cloud. You just bunch up a piece of paper towel while the paint is still wet and fairly dark. The more color on here, the better it will show up. So we can do it. Don't stress if you mess up, you just paint over it. Okay, so with the bunched up paper towel, you can just do some. I'll continue down here and do the same. Happy with the background here, so now comes the waiting part. So it's a good time to take a break. We want the background to be completely dry before we dive into the leaves. So take a break, make sure it's completely dry, and we'll come back and I'll show you how to do the wet into wet on the leaves. All right, your background is completely dry, and I started here painting this leaf. You want to look at the layer of the leaves. I started this one because it was on the bottom. With just the plain water, I wet the background. Just adding water, and this leaf is laying on top of it. You just want to put the water around it so that your paint will go around this leaf. You don't want to paint this one yet until this leaf here is dry. And then once that dries, you can paint over it. The other thing you want to keep in mind too is the color. You don't want to have two of the same colors right next to one another. You can, but it'll be more difficult to tell. So they all change colors at different times. This is how I do it. Just dropping the color in here. In the fall, we get such beautiful colors. It's nature's art show. And I'm going to go into the red and just drop some red in there. Move it along and just see how it will spread on its own. Mixing with the yellow to give you a little bit of orange. And remember, if you want to make the colors brighter, that's great because that's how they look in the fall. And these will dry lighter. Watercolors always dry lighter than what you put down. So that's something to keep in mind. So leave this leaf here alone, because if we started in on this one, it would all blend together and look like one big leaf, and we want to show the separation. And we will later too get into the details. But this is what I'm going to be doing. Laying down the water base, then dropping in your colors. It's a lot of fun. And see? Because I had that water down first, this yellow is not going to go into this leaf here because it's a barrier. So I'm going to continue on like that, stopping when I get done with this leaf, stopping and then finding another leaf, maybe here, none that are right next to one another. One leaf is complete now. That was the bottom one. That's a good one, the bottom layer to practice on, and you'll build your way up. So I'm looking around. I don't want to do this one because that is going to bleed into this, so, or any of these. But this one and this one I can do. They're separate, not touching anything, and this would be good. So those are the ones I'm going to do next, and I'm going to switch out the colors too. Switch to some different colors, and I'll show you how to do that.
Here I am laying down the water, dropping in yellow and the green that I previously mixed on my palette. I did mix some orange together, but felt that I did not rely on it as much as I did the green. The red and yellow on the paper blend together nicely to create an orange.
Water blooms, sometimes how it builds up here, and this looks a little bit lighter, so I want to make that a little bit more intense. So what I'm going to do is just drop in while it's dry on this dry drop in some yellow. And then I'll go back in with some red. Well, with it more dry so that I can make it blend a little better. I just didn't like that water bloom because it was so light. And here too, so this is how you can go, but otherwise I like the water blooms. I think they work kind of nice here. It's just your own personal preference. I just felt that one, and maybe, but we don't want to go in here, but maybe a little bit later when this is dry, I'll come in here and maybe touch it, but maybe not, because I want to show you how to do the shadow and the details next. So we're going to wait for everything to dry. Right up here I might add some yellow. Wow, see? Like how I said, they dry a lot lighter. So now is the time to go in and just find, here's a little bit of white space that here. Just go in with a dry, well, it's what I'm saying, dry brush, meaning really it's dry paper that you're painting on now. Okay. Right here, so just do those little touch-ups here and there. And then once this all dries, I will show you how to work in the details. We'll do some of the vein of the leaves, and we'll then use the burnt sienna to give some spots of the brown, how you find in nature on the leaf if you look closely. Oh yes, and then with the blue we'll go in and do shadows too, and that will make the leaves on the top pop and send the ones on the bottom back. Okay, continue to do that, seeing wherever you need to brighten up your leaf a little bit. But you're not going to add as much water now. It's just pretty much painting on the dry leaf with the color. Mainly, well, you see what you want, what colors need to be brightened up on your painting. You're the artist, you be the judge. Don't worry if it doesn't look exactly like mine, because everyone's is going to look different. And even if I did this again, it'll look different. Okay, enjoy, have fun. Remember, this is a fun process. The next step is to put in your shadows. So using the cerulean blue, we are going to put a thin layer of the blue underneath here, wherever you see it overlapping, just to separate it. And you don't want to do it too thick, and then you can add a little bit of water to fade that line. You don't want to have like a real thick line of the blue. You can see right here. Creating a shadow. See how that already pops a little bit? So that's, I'm going to continue on doing shadows here, creating shadows wherever they're laying. One leaf is laying on top of the other. That's what you can do now. drawing out the veins in the leaf, look at the main stem coming down the center, okay? And then look, you can see that they're alternating from the main. They're not coming at the same point. Just at the bottom of the leaf, at the back end, you can see that. It doesn't have to be exact. We're not going to get that detailed with it, but just to give a hint of that it's there. Now I'm going to take a pencil and lightly draw the veining in the leaf. If you can't see it, if it got covered up in the original, kind of just go with a light pencil where the veins might be branching off. Now that you've drawn them in, we're going to paint over to those stems. It doesn't have to be exact, and it doesn't have to be a continuous line. If it breaks up a little bit, that's fine too. So continue on that way.
On the green leaves, I used a darker green by mixing more of the cerulean blue into the yellow for the veins. And on the red-yellow leaves, I used the burnt sienna to create the veins.
Using the burnt sienna, you want to go in and get some of the brown detailing where part of the leaf is starting to decay. So maybe on some of the edges, around the holes, just you be the judge where you feel, or if you see on your leaf that you collected, if it has any. And that's what we'll do to continue on, and then you'll be done.